Hello folks, a very good afternoon from Playa Cancun in Puerto Jimenez in the south zone of Costa Rica. With me today is Martine Racette, and that's a name that sounds surprisingly French.
It is absolutely French-Canadian, and you said it perfectly. Merci.
At least one thing I got right, because you are originally from?
Originally from Canada, Ottawa, the capital, and I've been here on the Osa for 16 years now.
Where exactly are we? Let's start with where we are.
So the Osa Peninsula is to the south of the country, almost Panama. It's a peninsula, so it's an island attached basically to the mainland. We are in a place that's considered the most biologically intense place on Earth. And this was not said by me, it was said by National Geographic magazine. And there's a reason for that. This is where we have all 4 species of monkeys. We have margays, ocelots, pumas, jaguars, all of the wildcats are here on the Osa. We have tapirs, we have all the birds you can imagine. I don't know, it's about 800 species in Costa Rica, at least half or more here on the Osa alone. So we're in a very, very diverse and highly biologically intense place, really.
I can confirm that because just in the bathroom I was in this morning, I saw at least 5 species of cockroaches.
Cockroaches are important. They're actually at the bottom of the pyramid of what everything eats here. So they're not like the cockroaches you'll find in New York City. They're clean.
Martine here I happen to know that she is building a house.
Yes, finally. My own chante, we say. There's a whole patois, and like a pachuco, we call it in Costa Rica. There's ways of saying words that are nowhere else than in Costa Rica. Chante means house.
One of the thousands of questions that you may have when you want to build a house in a place like the Osa Peninsula is, how do I make sure that my house is earthquake proof?
Yeah, well, that's when you have to work definitely with an architect, and also you'll basically have engineers involved, the builder, and there's actual ways of building here that are standard for this place and that are the minimum that you need to do. So I'm not the one who's going to tell you how to do that. Wagner is, he's my man, but you can look into that a little bit deeper. Very important to have lower, get down into the earth, a good grip into the earth, and just also be mindful of what kind of earth you're buying and what kind of land you're buying. Get that test where they test the earth, how far down is the base point for it to be very stable. Look at everything from the materials that you're using. I've seen people here come with and use drywall. Within a matter of a month, it's literally black and moldy. There's certain materials that you can use on the Osa and other materials that you cannot. There's things that are better in this area. So you'll definitely want to be getting a reputable builder involved and really ask the right questions.
And where do you find one?
Well, actually, it's a lot of it on the Osa is a lot of word of mouth. Get referrals. If you see my house, ask me how it went. Like Wagner, I have to say, to be clear, he's my brother-in-law. And working with family can actually be a two-edged sword. I was so lucky because he's one of the most honest builders on the Osa. He's one of the most honest people that you'll meet. It's been a dream, honestly, and hasn't been a dream for everyone. I have worked with other builders in other situations. Even our architect decided last minute, oh, I have a bigger, better project, I'm off, So people can sometimes not be super reliable here. So I won't be recommending, for example, that particular architect. Just be mindful, make sure you have a good team around you. And actually it brings me to something really important that I think people need to know. Ask yourself, do I want to be responsible for this house? Because it's not I own. Never say I own something. You actually are responsible for something, whether that's a car, whether that's a child, whether that's a house. And a lot of times people want to build in these very beautiful places. Like I have reason to build here. I have family, my husband's here. I have a reason to be building here. But honestly, if it wasn't for that, I would be renting. I would be going on VRBO. I would be going on Airbnb. I would be renting without all the responsibility. And you'll still get the amazing experience, but you won't be locked down, making sure you have to protect what you've built, making sure you have security, because everywhere you go here, there's some sticky fingers, right? Some people end up looking like they're living in jail because they've put so many bars on their windows. So ask yourself really the first question before you decide to build anywhere. Do I want to be responsible for that particular place or home or apartment or the Airbnb in that area?
What are the things that could go wrong when you buy, first of all, a piece of land and then when you try and build a house?
Yeah, well, the first thing is finding out really what this land is. Can you have what's called a permiso de uso, which means a permit to use that land? For example, a lot of people want to live by the ocean. A lot of times you don't even own that land. You're basically renting that land for a certain amount of time. It's not yours. they can come and take it away. Let's not forget that in 50 years from now, it could also be underwater. Picking the land is very important. You have to make sure, is it in a place where a landslide could happen? Has there been a history of landslide? Are there signs of a landslide? You know, you have to understand, even on the Osa, the vegetation is what holds all of the nutrients. Like 99% of the nutrients is actually in the canopy. This earth is pretty much glazed, it's dead. There's hardly any nutrients in this earth. So if you're looking to, for example, garden a lot, have a garden with all vegetables, this is not the place for you. You know, you might want to go in the center of the country where there's fertile lands. Here, the lands are not fertile. In fact, it's all in the canopy. And if you want to grow carrots, good luck with that, okay? Not only that will all the animals get to it before you eat them, but they may not even grow.
Let's take a step back. I come here and I want to buy a piece of land to build a house on. In Costa Rica, there's something called uso de suelo. What's that all about?
So uso de suelo is what can you actually use that land for? Some pieces of land, you're not allowed to build a home on it. You're only allowed to use it for farming. So you need to get a good lawyer. And again, lawyers, you know, can be shady, but some of them are very good too. So get references, ask people, you know, people who already own homes here. Try to make yourself like a little community, you know, before you even buy, come and rent one of their houses and try to see, do you like the community? Do you like the people? Taxes here are not very high. I was so surprised. I'm like, pardon? That's all I have to pay? Okay, that's great. But what does that mean? I have no services. They're not going to come get my garbage. They're certainly not snow plowing like in Canada because there's no snow. There's all these things you have to ask yourself, like if I'm not going to be paying that many taxes, it's also because I'm not going to be receiving many services. Ask yourself these questions, because if you're like, ooh, maybe San Jose is better for you, you know, where there's more services.
And another very important thing, we were discussing this before we went on camera. Unfortunately, there's sometimes a practice where the same piece of land gets sold several times to different customers.
This happened more in the past. They used to have 3 different registries for land. Now it's been brought into one, so there's less chances of that. But there was a time where a person could sell you land and say, oh, do you want to put it into conservation? Maybe you're a philanthropist and you're like, yes, I'm going to put my money in and save this piece of land. Next thing you know, he's also selling it to someone else to build on it. And maybe a third person for, again, conservation purposes. So it was happening where pieces of land were being sold 3 or more times. Well, it was more like 3 times really. The resolution is that they put it all in one registry. So you have to wait for permits, you know, and then even to get it put in the registry, some people might be sleeping on the job and it can take a while. You have to be coming with the word patience. If you don't have patience, this is not the country for you.
How much time do you need to foresee to build a home like the one you're building?
Well, listen, I'm so impressed with my brother-in-law, I gotta tell you. We started in January. We're now beginning of April, and we're almost seeing the finish line. So it can be as quick as 4 months, 3 to 4 months if you're building something very small. And it can be as really 6 months, 7 months, but it won't, you know, it's not like we have insulation like in other countries. We do have building codes, but they're not like, for example, California's building codes or even Ontario, Canada's building codes. There are some building codes, you have to follow them, and even the municipality may come and check up on your build. There's a reason they have these laws, and they're trying to protect the environment here. So oftentimes, if you're building in a place that's very naturally dense, think of the impact that you're having on that place. There's reasons, there's rules and codes. Really look into them with your lawyer and find out what it is that you want to do, and maybe that piece of land is not for you, or maybe it is exactly what you're looking for.
You mentioned that you started in January. Did you mean you started construction?
Start permits, like literally, like everything started in January. We had to put in an infrastructure of electricity, which was a pain in the behind, but it's basically if you're more than 200 meters away from the last post, ISE, who's in charge of all the electricity in this country, you have to pay for the infrastructure. Then you donate it to them, and then they take care of it from then forward. So if a lightning hits your, you know, something and burns out, they're going to take care of it. But know that you may need to put in some serious infrastructure in terms of lighting, electricity, in terms of water. We have some of the most cleanest water on earth on the Osa. It doesn't even need to be filtered. It could just be drank right from the source, right? But then again, you still need to have an infrastructure so that you don't go and pollute, for example, the water table, so that you don't contribute to destroying that water source. The infrastructure can be intimidating for some. So just be prepared. If you're going to start from scratch, it means you're starting from scratch.
It does sound intimidating, like, because I've been to your place, to the home you're building, and it's quite remote from the main road.
Yeah.
So you don't need need to give the specific figure, but how much could people need to fork out to get electricity and water?
Well, for example, electricity, for us to just do 3 posts and the transformer, I think it's called, $15,000 US, just for that. And then for your water system, you're looking at another 5 grand easily. Overall, our building, and we're not building anything big, we don't have a pool, none of these things, you're looking at about $200,000 US. And that's not crazy when you think about what do you get now for $200,000. But again, depending on your builder, right? Is it an honest builder? Or are they going to overcharge you? You know, they may, you know, so get your facts in, like the materials have gone up in price. You know, this same house could have cost $100,000 like 5 years ago. So just know that you have to come pretty much with cash in hand, and cash in hand also means that you're going to be questioned at the bank. So you better have the source of that income very clearly identified. Speak with your bank manager, make them sign a letter, all that, make your accountant sign a letter. It has to be often processed, apostille. This is where you come in. You help me a lot with all this stuff, thank you. And then you send it back, for example, to Costa Rica, sometimes has to go to the yellow house.
It's a foreign ministry.
Foreign ministry, so they can say, yes, this paperwork is legit. And then it's sent to your bank. So there's a lot of bureaucracy involved. So again, I come back to the word patience.
Patience, but also money. You mentioned $200,000.
You mean money and patience.
Money and patience.
Yeah.
Let's say it's a nice round figure, $200,000. $20,000 goes to water and electricity.
Yeah.
How much of that money goes to permits?
Actually, not that much. Permits are not, they're actually quite affordable. I want to say about 3 grand, and I may be exaggerating even. Didn't feel like it hurt when you told me the prices, so I'm going to stick with 3 grand. But it's not crazy. Permits are not crazy. Architect, yes, can be a good chunk of cash depending on who you're working with. You know, if you go from one studio that, or you know, that's charged a lot to, you know, buddy who might ditch you at the last minute. So it all depends on that. But definitely like have your money in place. You know, I've seen so many people start constructions. Like if you go to Jaco, you know that building, there's this huge building. It's like completely vacant, scary even. You know, people start projects and then it fails right through. So just have your money ready and in legal sources, because they will be checking.
And speaking about architects, in a country like Belgium, there's a legal obligation to use one. Is it the same in Costa Rica?
Yes, 100%. To get your building permit, you have to submit the plan from an architect and engineer. Before it's submitted to the municipality, it's sent to the College of Architects here, and they give you the stamps of approval, and then it goes to the municipality for your permits. Without an architect and an engineer, you can't move forward.
By what time do you hope to have your home finished?
Well, I hope to have it finished in the next month and a half to 2 months. So by May, I hope to be in my new home.
And that includes the swimming pool?
No, that's going to take a while.
Martine Racette, thank you very much for all the useful information.
Con placer, avec plaisir.
And best of luck.
Thank you, and good luck to you if you decide to build in Costa Rica. Bye.